Miles Morales, a modern icon embodying contemporary America by Mo Robbins. Miles Morales is a better representation of contemporary America than Peter Parker for reasons like racism, his biracial background, and courage. First, racism. Lots of individuals across America experience racism in their day-to-day lives. One example is in a case study by Abby White by Fox First Person. She says, but also, my family was so white, and frankly, for as much as I love my mother, racist. My grandfather would not be in the same room with her the entire 9 months she was pregnant. She couldn't even hold me for the first couple of months of my life. As a result of this, she faced a rough childhood, being discriminated in her own household. Now, later on in life, she went on to find a group of biracial friends who became best friends with her for the rest of her life. Not only this, but in the Miles Morales comic series, Miles Morales encountered 2 white males that told him that he could never be a superhero or even live up to Peter Parker because of his biracial background. Now, this first chart shows the percentage of a woman based on their skin tone to experience racism in the workplace. As you can see, darker skin tones tend to experience more racism. And this graph shows the white and black assets in American households. So you can see American household assets are much higher than black assets, meaning that coming from a black household, you're more than likely to have less opportunities growing up. Now, for biracial background, lots of individuals across America are biracial. And one that reported on this is David Benzicourt of the Washington Post. According to David, he says, in all the years I've been reading comic books, I identify with Marvel's biracial Spider-Man more than any other character. Miles Morales, not only a pop culture representation of my youth, but the type of hero that before its creation in 2011 only existed in my imagination. As Benzicourt said, he connected more with Miles than any other Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse because of his biracial background, sharing similar traits and hobbies as a youth. Now, also, in the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there's a scene where Miles attends a family barbecue displaying the tightly knit Afro-Latino community in Brooklyn, New York, where despite their different careers or opinions on the world, they shared similar cultures which brought them together. A quote from a study done by Lincoln Quillian says that persons of multiracial background face a potentially problematic social and personal situation because multiracial persons lack a clear place among the traditional race groups in a racially divided society. This study proves that having a biracial background, or people with biracial backgrounds, are more susceptible to loneliness and lacking of a clear distinction to a certain group. As shown in the case study of Abby White, she only met her best friends through other biracial individuals, and all of her best friends consist of biracial individuals, showing that they're more closely connected. Now, main reason, courage. Now, since Miles Morales was younger when he experienced a main event called the Cannon event where his uncle died, so it's very influential on his mental state, being that his brain wasn't fully developed. On a study on PTSD done by Liana Zanet and her colleagues, she says one of the most commonly used of these paradigms not only successfully induces enduring effects, also well emulates the etiology of PTSD in simulating a life-threatening event by exposing lab rodents to predator cues. For example, a live rat or predator odors. Basically, this study on lab rats shows that lab rats, as shown in this graph, are frozen or immobile for a longer time when exposed to predator cues versus non-predator cues, showing that there is some form of PTSD that can come from this. Now, a famous quote from Miles Morales says, "Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing." Now, this quote is Miles saying that he could be whatever superhero he wants to be and faces adversities and racism head on and doesn't let it discriminate him. Now, why is Miles better than Peter Parker? Well, in a quote said by Wilson Coe, he says that Spider-Man 2002's success is attributed to the integration of nostalgia, episodic memories, and the monument of the male hero's journey. Now, Coe's basically saying that Peter Parker is seen as more relatable to most Americans because of how much longer he's been around and how he brings nostalgic memories. However, this is only relevant to the older audience. Now, Miles Morales, however, is more relevant to the future of America because of things like shoes, which are very popular for young individuals across America. Now, another biracial icon is Simone Biles. Simone Biles was a biracial individual that made a strong impact on American society when she succumbed to her mental health in one of the most important competitive events of her life. She says, "As a black woman, we just have to be great, because even when we break records and stuff, they almost just dim it down as if it's normal." This quote shows that her race played a big role in the hardships she faced on her way to success and on her way to proving her point or showing that mental health is important and many athletes should listen to it. Now, a resonating impact of popular non-white cultures is culturally responsive teaching. Now, culturally responsive teaching, the 4 main points: it brings native language into the classroom, you understand the history and culture of the students, it brings community culture into the classroom, and it involves family and family backgrounds, which help the student connect better or are more active in school. And this graph shows how students following the culturally responsive teaching methodology and their attendance rates compared to book-based methodology. And this is my bibliography. Thank you.
Hey, nice job, Mo. I have a couple of questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So for the first one, what evidence did you gather in the gathering phase that you ended up not using in your paper and presentation, and how come? How come you didn't use that information?
So when I was gathering evidence, I used lots of evidence, or I found lots of evidence about superheroes and their connection, or between, like, the distinction between courage and fear, which I originally planned to write about, but I changed up my stimulus or thesis and didn't end up using those quotes.
Okay, terrific. And then as a follow-up question, what are the implications of your conclusions to your community? Like, who is this information for?
Well, the conclusion is relevant to non-white cultures and students for trying to influence them in the classroom or help them learn in different ways.
Okay.